Welcome to Beyond the Veil, the channel that unveils the mysteries hidden between myth, history, and legend. Here, we explore what lies behind the stories that have passed through the centuries, because every myth has a grain of truth. If you too are fascinated by the unknown, subscribe and get ready to look beyond the veil of reality. What if those you buried came back to seek revenge? Not a dream, not an illusion. I'm talking about something real, something that walks in the darkness with a purpose. There's a kind of dead who knows no peace. It's not a zombie dragging itself without consciousness. It's not a ghost vanishing in the wind. It's more dangerous, more unsettling, because it remembers everything. It's called a revenant, a risen body, but with its mind still intact, driven by vengeance, by guilt, by an unkept vow. It doesn't come back to feed, but to settle scores. Today, I'll take you on a journey through centuries of fear, where death is just the beginning, and the return is the most terrifying part. We'll uncover medieval legends where the dead rose from their graves, true chronicles about desecrated burials, and figures that inspired vampires, ghosts, and nightmares. But it's not just ancient history. Revenants still live today, hidden in symbols, in films, in modern stories. They're everywhere. There's talk of guilt, trauma, of something that refuses to stay buried. Yes, today we'll enter a world where death isn't a boundary, but just a threshold that someone has decided to cross again. Welcome to Beyond the Veil. And now, listen carefully. You might hear a knock. There was a time when the dead didn't stay where you left them. An age of fog and superstition, of villages surrounded by dark forests, where fear wasn't just of death, but of who would return afterward. In medieval Europe, the Revenant was not a legend, but a reality whispered between homes around the fires. A sudden illness, a dead cow, or the sound of footsteps in the night, and immediately people would murmur, "It's back." Christianity taught the resurrection of the soul, but old beliefs were not dead. There, between the boundaries of faith and paganism, the Revenants were born. Not ethereal spirits, but real bodies, risen from the earth, with a single purpose. Why did they return? For vengeance, because someone had betrayed, killed, slandered. For duty, a promise unkept, a broken vow. Or for guilt, the weight of sins, not confessed, not forgiven. Family curses, desecrated burials, hatred that death did not extinguish. The Revenants did not ask for forgiveness. They did not seek peace. They sought justice or destruction. In Iceland, England, Germany, the Chronicles report cases of the dead returning to haunt the living, with eyes still open, bodies stiff, smelling of earth and rancor. And the people did not pray. They dug, they burned, they broke the bones, because they knew that certain deaths were not the end. This was the world of the Revenants, neither living nor dead, but consumed by the reason they returned. And that reason often bears your name. Do not confuse it. The Revenant is not a zombie. It does not wander aimlessly. It is not an empty body moved by instinct. And it is not even a ghost, because a Revenant has flesh, blood that has congealed, and memory. It is conscious. It remembers everything. It knows who you are, knows what you did to it, knows why it must return to you. Where the zombie feeds to survive, the Revenant feeds to punish. Where the ghost cries and screams in the hallways, the Revenant looks you in the eye and walks toward you. And where the vampire seduces and hides in the night, the Revenant does not fear the light. It comes by day, by night, when you least expect it. It has superhuman strength, but that is not what scares you. It is its obsession, the fixed idea that kept it awake in the grave, the last thought before the heart stopped beating. And now, that thought is the only thing that moves it. The Revenant does not seek everyone. It seeks you. It does not want the world. It does not want kingdoms. It does not want riches. It wants one soul, yours, because you betrayed it, or forgot it, or because you owe it something you never returned. And when you see it, you will understand that it is not a mistake of nature. It is justice walking, and its march does not stop until it gets what it wants. It is not just legend. In the dark ages of Europe, revenants were not merely told about, they were feared. English, Icelandic, Slavic chronicles all speak of bodies rising again, of disturbed graves, of the dead who refused to stay dead. 13th century, Scotland. A man feared in life dies. But after the burial, the real troubles begin. His neighbors say they hear him knocking on doors, scratching the windows with his nails. Some die in their sleep, others go mad. Until the village makes a terrible decision, to reopen his grave. They find him swollen, his eyes still open, and then they burn him. Iceland, same period. The Draugr, the undead of Norse tradition, haunt entire villages. They are not spirits. They are tangible bodies, killing, walking among the living. And the only way to stop them? Cut off the head, burn the body, scatter the ashes at sea. Across Europe, we find human remains buried with stones shoved in their mouths, nails in their chests, or bound with ritual ropes. It was not sadism, it was protection from them. Archaeologists call them apotropaic burials, but the peasants called them by name, revenants, because you didn't need science to understand that someone wasn't really dead. And in an age without answers, every disease, every sudden death, every shared nightmare was explained by a return from beneath the earth. Was it superstition? Or did someone really rise from the grave? If you think revenants are just ancient legends, then listen closely. Today, they are more alive than ever, and they walk among us disguised. Pop culture has embraced them, transformed them, made them more terrifying than you could ever imagine. The modern revenant has become an icon, and not just in traditional horror. Films like The Revenant, where a man rises from the dead to seek revenge, tell a story of survival, but also of an insatiable hunger. Leonardo DiCaprio facing the darkness of the wild is the symbol of our fight against death, but also of the search for justice, no matter the cost. And let's not forget Pet Sematary, where death seems like just a door you can reopen. A story that teaches us there are things that should never be brought back to life. Because the return of the buried is not just physical, it is spiritual. It is the unsettling manifestation of guilt that never leaves us. Game of Thrones. How many of you have seen Cersei, Sansa, Jon Snow, and many others face their demons? The White Walkers are nothing but a modern version of the Revenant. Risen dead, soulless, merciless. Their blue eyes are the symbol of a death that never found peace. They are vengeance in flesh and bone, the return to settle scores never paid. And then there's the world of video games. In Dark Souls and Skyrim, revenants appear as eternal monsters, ready to chase anyone unlucky enough to cross their path. But they are not just enemies. They are mirrors. Every time you face them, you confront your own mortality, your own finiteness. And every time you kill them, you send them back into the darkness they came from. But you never know if you've truly stopped them, because revenants are never fully dead. But how has the figure of the revenant changed? From vengeful spirit seeking justice, it has become a symbol of guilt, of unresolved trauma. Today, they are not just beings thirsting for revenge. They are the representation of what we have never closed, of those debts we keep postponing, but that will eventually come knocking at our door. No matter how much we bury them, their presence is felt, because death is only the first chapter of the story, and the Revenants, now more than ever, are the embodiment of that truth. The Revenant is not just a creature that returns from the dead, it is a mirror of our darkest fears. We do not fear death for what it is, but for what might follow. The return of those we thought lost is a scar on our psyche, an echo we cannot ignore. The Revenant is not just the body rising from the grave, it is the past chasing us. It is the voice of everything we wanted to forget. Every time someone returns for revenge, every time we confront what we've ignored, our spirit is forced to face the reality we've tried to hide, and we cannot escape. What the Revenant tells us, ultimately, is that we are never truly free. Our actions are never buried as we think. Every mistake, every sin, every unresolved guilt has the power to rise again, to knock on our door and claim its toll. We can never escape who we were. We cannot kill our shadow. This is why the figure of the Revenant is so powerful. It is not just a monster walking in the night. It is the consequence of what we refuse to face. When the dead return, it's as if our unconscious tells us, "You haven't closed the cycle, you haven't said goodbye, you haven't atoned for your sin." Death is not the end, but a passage. And the return is the warning reminding us that sooner or later we will have to reckon with what we've tried to bury. And then there's that unsettling feeling, the one that makes your blood run cold. Death is never really the end. The Revenant is never finished. It is something that refuses to stay dead, something that refuses to be forgotten. And that is why the return of the Revenant is so much more terrifying than any other monster. Because it is not just a walking body, it is the resonance of everything that was never truly buried. It is the past reaching you with a fury you cannot stop, and every step of the Revenant warns you, the past will always find you. The real fear is not death. It's what refuses to stay dead. The figure of the Revenant is not destined to fade with time. It is a legend that regenerates, that adapts to the ages and places but never loses its strength. Its presence is eternal, like the past that continues to torment our present. No matter how much time has passed, no matter how hard we try to bury the memories, the Revenant returns, like a cold wind blowing through the ruins of what we thought was forgotten. The return of the Revenant is a timeless threat, a warning telling us that we can never escape the consequences of our actions. And so, I ask you, viewer, what if it knocked on your door? What if one day you woke up in the middle of the night and heard the sound of footsteps slowly walking toward you? What would you do? What would you think if the face of someone you've lost materialized before you, bringing with it a story of revenge, resentment, and guilt? There are no easy answers, but the true horror is not the Revenant itself. It's knowing that somewhere deep inside, there might be a part of you that called it, a part of you that left something unresolved, something that now returns to collect its due. The question remains, and it echoes in the shadows. What would you do if the past came back for you? If you too hear that call in the darkness, subscribe to Beyond the Veil. And don't wait too long because the answer might already be around the corner. Subscribe before it's too late.